everyone. Our research is traffic congestion warning system, and to the abstract, traffic congestion has now become
có ngồi đây được, có ngồi sang tâm đi.
Alarm issues for many countries in the world, and Vietnam is not an exception. Traffic
Can I speak a little bit louder?
You don't need to worry about the time match your friend and what you figure out.
Nowadays, traffic congestion has become an alarming issue for not only Vietnam but also for many countries around the world. And according to the traffic congestion has now cost about 27 billion Vietnam dollars a day, which is about 5,900 billion Vietnam dollars a year. And in Vietnam and also in many countries, there has several applications which can help to solve the problem. First of all is the VOE traffic. However, they only provide the users through the listening, so that they cannot provide users the overall view of the map. And for this application from Tieng, they use the data from the cameras, and up to this moment they still have to update it manually. It also costs plenty of money to create and also to maintain the system. And last but not least, Google Maps has also published its traffic category in Vietnam. However, they use the data from the mobile phones, so the results might not be correct, and they just close this feature in Vietnam. And therefore, we decided to create our research in order to warn the users about the traffic congestion.
And our background is the update and analyze and integrate feature from the GIS system, what is the geographic information system, and we use the equation and we speed and location detecting follows.
And this is our process. And with the input from the map and from the GPS tracking devices from the vehicles, we have to face two main problems. First of all, is the input data is massive. In our calculation for the Hoàng Kiếm district in Hanoi, we have to process about 500 vehicles. 5,000 vehicles and 900 road segments. And also, we have to calculate it so the results can be displayed instantly, and we have to make sure that the calculations is right. And with the result, with the input from the GPS tracking devices and the map, we will then analyze the data, and then we will process it, and then the results will be displayed on websites and also on mobile applications. And with the data from the GPS checking devices, it will be sent to our center for about 5 to 15 seconds, and it will have several data like the ID of the car, the time, the location, and also the speed. And it will then be analyzed and saved to the tables in the SQL server. And with the data from the map, we will then transform it from the geometry form to the coordinate combined form. And we will also save it to SQL server. And in order to reduce the amount of calculations so that the results can be displayed instantly, we will divide the map into 900 squares, and each square will also be saved to SQL server with the roads inside. And the step 2 of the process is to calculate the distance from the vehicle to the road segment. And first of all, we have to eliminate the vehicles which is not in the road segment by if the vehicle create with the first point and the end point of the segment with an obtuse angle, we will eliminate that vehicle. And then we will calculate the distance of the vehicle to the road segment using the Aeron formula. And we have also successfully created a map which can display the traffic situations in market district, and can also be displayed on websites and on mobile applications. We also create diagrams in order for the government to compare and also to make policies. And we have also made a survey to several hotspots in Vietnam, including the Laser Street. And we find the results that we display on the map is matched to the real situations. To conclude, from the data of the GPS checking devices and the map, we have successfully created applications which can display the traffic situations on website and on mobile applications. And the data can also be analyzed for the government, for the management, and also it can connect to several other GIS systems. And these are the new features of our research. We have displayed the map in real time, and we have also divide the map into plenty squares to reduce the amount of calculations. And this is the very first system in Vietnam which can save and calculate the speed of the road segment automatically. And in the future, we will continue our research and to make sure that the accuracy of the map. And also, we will try to speculate the traffic situations according to the current data. And also, we will try to create several features such as stimulating time travel in order for the users to choose the most suitable direction. And that's an presentation. Thank you.
So I just wonder about the accuracy of the calculation, like you divide the line in many square, right? So how about the accuracy? Does it depend on the way you divide?
Well, we divide into squares in order to reduce the calculations.
I understand.
Yeah, and we have divided into 900 squares, and
But does it affect the accuracy of the calculation? If I
Well-
divide like 18,000 on how far it needed to be more accurate?
We have to think about that, and if the vehicle in the square is not linked to a road, we will try to calculate the distance of that vehicle on the next square.
So after field testing on the four-way street, would you summarize for us the main advantage of your system compared to other? What are the main advantage?
Well, like I mentioned, first of all, the UV traffic, we have created a map which the users can can give an overview of the map. And like for example, on my way travel to home, the UV traffic might not mention any roads in my directions. And what I really care about is the traffic situations in my directions. So that this system is very useful. And in order to compare to the traffic situations in Tieng we can automatically calculate the situations while the Tieng they still have to do it manually. And we save plenty of money. We only use data from the book, so that we don't need to spend money to build cameras, traffic cameras.
Yes,
Thank you for your presentations. I have just two more questions for you. First of all, what does GIS mean? How different from GIS and GPS? Okay. And the second one is, I think for populations, you may enroll many parameters for populations. And I just want to ask some parameters like road hours, for example, or road constructions at times. And did you enroll such parameters into your populations?
I think it better the others answer the question.
The GIS is the geographic information system. It's a system that compares it combines the geographic to the attribute of the object. So it's GIS system.
To be more precise,
What does GIS stand for?
GIS stands for Geographic Information System. And with the GIS, like your road segment in the GIS, it just display an image. But with the GIS, you can combine new attributes like the speed of the vehicle and also the location of the vehicle, so that you can calculate.
What part of the data you use for your result? You have to use a lot of the data to calculate your software, your system. So exactly what kind of data you use and how you can get that data.
The data we use is from the GPS checking system. We take from the book, and we come to there and we so maybe they give us the data and we analyze it.
And also in our research, we use the input like the location of the vehicle, the speed of the vehicle, and also the time which the data was sent to us.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Yeah. You can have a seat. Yeah. So then, wait for you. All right, let's start. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Samuel. Today it is my pleasure to introduce our science project called Improve the Adaptability Resistance of the Savannah.
We must acknowledge that the world today is facing with global climate change. It is one of the most urgent and serious problems in the world today. The atmosphere heats up, therefore the stamina of many animals and plants are increasing in domination. So, especially the plants around have been affected because they do not have the adaptability to live and grow in different climatic conditions with their biological mechanisms. Linear pollinate is a kind of rare and white flower that can only find in South and Vietnam. However, it has been put in the red list because it is endangered. It can only survive in the cold weather. So we have a question: how can we do to improve the adaptability and resistance of the sapphire? Generally, are found in bacteria or other bacterial globiformis that can create bleeds in the tent. To have plants can improve the adaptability to in many different climatic conditions. Can have LSB promoter is a kind of promoter that can control other gen, for example, gen today can activate itself in hot condition. Therefore, so by using transferring model technology, we are able to improve the resistance of the supply in hot conditions. In this experiment, we use linear pollinate, collagen, promoter LSD, essential promoter, Astrobacter tuberculosis, bacteria, two counter-enzyme called E3 and S41 to commit enzyme or T4 ligase and many other chemical. Some machine we use in this experiment is PCR machine, camera, and many other machines. Firstly, we have to create the recombinant vector that has good agent and be controlled by promoter LSD promoter, which means the essential promoter. Secondly, we have to transfer the recombinant vector into the lily cell. Thirdly, we have to choose the lily strain that have modified gene. And last but not least, we have to red the lily that have modified gene. First step, we have to create a recombinant vector that can manipulate by cut the plasmid of the virus, of the bacteria called Astrobacter plasmids. This is the vector. It is a plasmid, which just have translate, and this is our promoter. This is promoter, LSB promoter. We cut from the DNA of the plant called arabidopsis. Then we combine to cut product by combining enzyme called T4 ligase to create recombinant vector. Then we move to the step 2. Then we have to create the move. We have to transfer the recombinant vector into the lily cell. Firstly, we have to create the bacteria called Astrobacter tuberculosis. Make it can have the recombinant vector by using allergy shock. Then we can transfer the recombinant vector into the lily slide by putting it into the many other environments. Then we have to choose. In the first step, we have to choose whether the lily slice have the recombinant vector, have the gene code or not. And we have the rate, the ability to live and grow the lily sapa, new type of lily sapa that we have created in the condition, in hot temperature condition. It's we're putting it in the temperature condition is 37 degrees in very we can see that it can be clearly seen that all the slides that have chemical A 1, 2, 4, and 5 is have the ability to live and create new ability to live is very high. Besides to number 3, slide number 3, and the same the other type of lily sapa can only survive. It can really not, it can die. Then we have to create the how the lily can create glycine. With all the, in conclusion, we have successfully in creating the kind of vector, recombinant vector that have gene code A and B controlled by its sensor hormone. And we have transferred successfully that recombinant vector into the lily cell. And we have created 5 types of lily sapa that have the ability to live in hot conditions. And those the newest part of this science project is that it is the first science project that can help improve the adaptability and persistence of lily sapa. And in this project, we use promoter ASP promoter combined with gene code A to make it can only activate in hot conditions. This is our that's all.
Okay, thank you.
So any other gene we have used?
It's just one. We just use gene code gene.
The one. Why?
Because we just need gene to create a gene, which is a chemical composition that can help other plants, have many plants, can improve the adaptability to live in many stress conditions.
I wonder if any other gene do the same function.
There's no other gene that can do the same function.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Okay, thanks. Why did you choose the agrobacterium to make Tieng in your profession?
In the world there are so many. There are three ways that can move, that can transfer the antigen from outside to the plant cells. And we use Agrobacter tuberculosis, a kind of bacteria, because the other 2 way is how can I say? It's really expensive way. That in Vietnam we don't have the modern technology to do this way. So we use this kind of bacteria and help us to bring the recombinant vector into our cells.
If there's any disadvantage of that system,
Advantage? I think
disadvantage.
disadvantage. I think I believe there is no disadvantage because from this bacteria because when we have to transfer this bacteria into the lily cells, we use a kind of medicine called cephalosporin that can destroy all bad or even good. From that bacteria attractor
So when you choose
NSP promoter is sensor promoter. It's a kind of promoter that condition, for example, when the weather is normal, when the weather is normal, then promoter NSP will not work. Then generally it will not. It can only work in condition.
I see you compare the transfected plant to the normal plant.
Yes.
You test out how many samples, and have you done any statistical analysis to confirm your result?
In some experiments, we use 45 plants, like from the shepherd lily, any normal kind of lily, and we can create more by putting it into the medium that we use to create more plants in vitro like lily.
The second part about statistical analysis, when you compare transfected and normal. You understand about statistical analysis?
Yes, we have the kind of lily and
To see any different and have any significance.
the difference is the new type of lily that we have created have the ability to create a lot more glycogen than the plants can.
Okay, thank you. No problem. No worries. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Amadis Dawancho, and here in my Canada.
My name is Phan.
And we come from Bikuti.
Our concept today is a one-game system about the alcohol concentration in the can.
All we know, driving after using alcohol variator got used and make accident which other people, even though with yourself. And the newness of my project 3 is this system can find out the alcohol concentration if from driver or other people in the car. And we can to find the alcohol concentration of driver or other people in the car because we make the
That's student fix yourself. F. Look outside. Can suggest on your totally take a deep breath.
First the system will check the alcohol concentration of sensor 1 to with sensor 2. If the alcohol concentration of sensor 1 small than the sensor 2, so right doesn't driving alcohol. And if alcohol concentration of sensor 1 bigger than the sensor 2, the system will check the alcohol concentration of sensor 3 and 4 to find max value of just this couple. And system will take that max value of couple 3 the deep unstable concentration of sensor 1 smaller than max value of couple sensor 3 and 4 so driver not using alcohol. And that's in my result 0. First, the people use transfers the unstable. We stand on the scan with the sensor chosen one. 4 people in the car using alcohol. The car can start on. All the people in the car using alcohol. The right using alcohol. The car can start. And driver not using alcohol. All the people using alcohol. The driver can start the car. And all people in the car using alcohol.
You finish your presentation?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just wonder about the principle of the system. The operation principle of the system, can you explain it in a few words? The operation principle. Like how do you know the alcohol concentration and then how you send out the music?
How to find the alcohol from driver or from people.
Something like that. And then I'm in front of you, how do you know the alcohol concentration?
I use sensor.
And you. So is that something, the commercial one you get from the market? How many sensors you use in the car?
I use from sensor.
You use 4 for 4 people or you just use 4 for any car? The number 4, you use 4 sensors.
4 sensors.
For 4 people or you use 4 sensors for any car?
No, I use 4 sensors from car and 4 people.
So if there are like more than 4, like 6 or 7 people in the car, how many sensors do you use?
I use the sensor in a 6 people in the car. We use 6 sensors.
So how many cases have you tested? And do you see any false positive and false negative? How many percent of false positive and false negative in when you test your system?
How many tests you have done? How many tests you have done? So how many
Have you
times?
done?
False negative.
Yeah. And do you see any false positive and false negative? So the difference between they have a really high alcohol concentration. For example, but your system cannot detect that. Is there anything like that?
Someone really drunk, walk in the car, and the car sensor doesn't work.
If the driver using 2
sit together and stand together and discuss.
If the driver using lister the alcohol, if the driver using alcohol, sorry, and in the summer, if the wind,
It's windy. Okay, it's a windy day. Okay.
windy,
Windy.
so much, so accident
Can or cannot?
cannot what we call the windy wave.
It will blow the alcohol away.
If I drink a lot. If I drink a lot. Drink very much.
If the driver drink very much, so system can check the alcohol concentration of driver and driver cannot start the car.
Any question?
Just I wonder. So just I wonder whether your system can identify the people that check the alcohol concentrations in driver or not. So I just wonder. I'm asking myself. So when someone uses your system to check their alcohol concentrations, the system can recognize they are drivers or not driver.
Can he distinguish or can he know who drives or not? Driver, you know, can your system know who is the driver or not?
Yeah.
We use the sensor in
The seat.
your seat of driver. If the driver sit in there, the system will saturate
So it means you use a four sensor for four people.
processes for people and
I don't know why you have to check the for the other. I think we just only check the driver. Why you have to check for the other?
if other people bring alcohol is up.
The breath.
Breath of other people will come through the seat arrival and the system can check. So we use four sensor to check driver ever driving on us.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I may have one question. Do you know how much alcohol is allowed when you drive by laws in Vietnam?
Vietnam is 0.
This much? This much?
Yes, I understand the question. 0.
We say no. No alcohol is allowed, right? Like how much alcohol is allowed in Vietnam by laws?
0.2 25 milligram.
Okay. Actually, if you're driving your fine already, and you pay with some money because now it's no alcohol is allowed. You know that?
no alcohol is allowed.
Or just a little bit.
No little. Actually, like we have a no tolerance policy towards alcohol drinking when driving. You know it? Yeah, it's okay. So it's just like you need to check that.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Please begin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. May I present our project, the study on the response of the constitutive androgen receptor with plant extract in diabetes-related assistance. Group of others, including my friend Tieng and I, will okay. The contents of our project consists of 4 sections. The first section is the reason for the project selection. The second one is hypothesis of the project. The first one is research methodology, and the fourth one is results and discussion. Okay, now let's start with the first one, reason for the project selection. As you all know, Vietnam is a tropical country, which is a great potential of medicinal plants, and there are many plants complementing the treatment for diabetes. And in the world today, there have been studies on the diabetes treatment conducted in mice, humans, and especially on the insulin cell receptors. But there have been in the latest research about one receptor named constitutive androgen receptor, as known as CAR, has proved that the CAR is one of the transcription factors of metabolism of antibiotics and endogenous molecules such as pesticides, drugs, or nutrients. And most important, that CAR has been proved activates the gluconeogenesis and glucogenesis involved genes, therefore improving the diabetes and obesity. That is why we chose CAR for our project. So move on to the hypothesis of our project. First, the CAR responds to the plant extract. CAR responds to the plant extract when it is stimulated by the components in plant extracts. The active configuration of CAR exchange causing the binding ability to the regulatory region of hexakinase gene. It enhances the transcription and transmission of this gene into HK enzyme. At the same time, CAR also binds to the regulatory region of G6-phosphatase gene, inhibiting the transcription and transmission of this gene into G6 enzyme. Therefore, the glycolysis is higher than the gluconeogenesis, and in this way, the blood sugar is regulated and had to cure the diabetes type 2. From that hypothesis, we look forward to the objective of the project that will clarify the action mechanism of plant extract on the blood glucose regulation through CAR by carry out the experiment on the responses of CAR with plant extracts in vitro and the responses of gluconeogenesis and glycolysis related genes with plant extracts in vitro. In order to achieve the objective that we have proposed, we have established the experimental procedure, including 6 steps. The first step, we extract the gel bovine and beta guard. The second step, we culture the HG2 and HDK cell lines. The third step is the cytotoxicity step. Here is the cytotoxicity of plant extracts and reference compounds. At step 4, we treat the cells with plant extracts and reference compounds. Step 5, we determine the responses of CAR with plant extracts in vitro. And step 6 is the final step. We determine the responses of gluconeogenesis and glycolysis related genes with plant extracts in vitro. In order to carry out the experimental procedure, we need the materials such as plant extracts. Here are the extracts from the plant gel bovine and beta guard. The cell lines we use are HG2 and HDK, 8293 cell lines, which are the liver cancer cells and the benign red cells. The reference compounds we use are the positive reference as CITCO to active the CAR and negative reference as PK195 to inhibit the CAR. Besides, we also use the reagent for RNA extraction and expression and material for RNA interference. And there are a lot of different methods we use rotation vacuum concentrators, the real-time mixing machine, the microplate reading machine, and others. Okay, after having done the experimental procedure, we got the results. Here we divide them into two parts. The first part is cytotoxicity results. Here we tested the concentration. We tested the gel-1 and beta-bar extracts of the cells by trying the series of tested trying the different concentrations. Next, we check for the morphology of two cell lines after being treated with plant extracts. Then each experiment was repeated 3 times. Then we got the response curve of cells with gel-1 and beta-bar extracts. It depends on the viability of cells. And finally, we got the IC50 values of plant extracts in two cell lines connected to an HEK. And after getting the IC50 values, we come to the conclusion that about the extract, the toxicity of beta-bar is higher than gel-1 extracts. About the cell lines, the HEK cell lines are more susceptible to two plant extracts than HEG2 cell lines. And from two conclusions like this, we can say that both beta-bar and gel-1 extracts are proved to be safe to both normal cells, HEK, and model cells, HEG2, for us to carry out the next experiment. Which is the next is the result of the responses of PAR with two plant extracts. Here we got the graph. Look at the graph, you can see that when we add gel-1 and beta-bar extract on PAR, the PAR expression is higher than the DMSO and CNTCL, which is the positive reference. This is the HEG2 cell line. Moving on to the HEG293 cell line, when we add gel-1 and beta-bar extract, it is also higher than DMSO but lower than CITCL. To check for the protein expression, we also use the Western blot technique. Here, when we add gel-1 1 microgram the response of PAR is darker and longer than the MXO and also CITCL. The beta-bar is also longer but darker, not very clearly, not expression so clearly as gel-1. Moving on to the HEG293, overall, the expression is when we add plant extract is also higher than the MXO, but the expression of it is not very obvious, not obvious as HEG2. Then we conclude that the PAR gene is highly expressed in HEG2 cell lines and it tends to increase when we treat with plant extracts. And next, the final is the results of responses of gluconeogenesis and glycolysis related genes with plant extracts. Here we try with 3 genes, the C2B gene, the G6 gene, and the HK2 genes. With the C2B6, when we add gel-1 and beta-bar extracts, the expression of this gene is higher, much higher than DMXO and CITCL. And this increasing trend can be seen more clearly in the HK2 gene. As you said, for example, when we add gel-1 1 microgram per ml, it is almost 10 times higher than DMXO. But on the other hand, with G6 paste, the increased trend is the increased expression is not. It only increases a little amount. It does not affect very. It affects them very negligibly. Finally, we come to the result that the mRNA expression levels of 3 genes C2B6, G6P, and HK2 change more obviously in HEG2 cells than in HEG293. And these expression levels are increased when we treat with gel-1 and beta-bar extracts as well as CIT cell, while the mRNA expression of G6P is negligibly affected. And finally, we come to the conclusion of this project that Chamberlain and meteorite extract increase three genes, the CAR gene, the C2B6 gene, and HK gene expression, but do not affect the G6 expression. And because of that, therefore, the Chamberlain and meteorite extracts are able, have the ability to reduce blood sugar through the way of increasing HK2 gene, which is the glucose analyze gene, but not affecting the G6 gene, which is the glucose synthesize gene, not very clearly. And from this conclusion, we can confidently affirm that our hypothesis that we have proposed for is totally correct. And this is the development of our hypothesis that in the future we will survey more plant extracts, which are able to regulate blood sugar, but not having clearly demonstrated as most in the laboratories. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Please, question.
So the girl, your English is very good, so I don't want to check you. I want to check the boy. So could you please tell me about one difficult situation you faced during your research, and tell me how you solved that one.
The problem when we do the treatment is we do with the cell, because the cell is hard to treat, and it's really
So it's okay. So the girls now you can answer.
Because as you know, the cells are very hard to treat, and they need an environment in which they can develop and improve and grow. Therefore, when we treat with the cells, actually they died once, but we have to retreat it, and it's a very hard, it's a very difficult procedure.
How you know the animal cells die?
Okay, when the cells die, it floats. It does not stay at the bottom, but it floats, and it changes to the round and oval expression.
Okay.
So that's when I know the cells die.
So how you can solve the problem?
Then we retreat them more carefully. Yeah, but I cannot tell the details because my vocabulary is not. I don't have much vocabulary on this side.
Okay, so your goal is to investigate about the mechanism of the car, right?
Yes.
With the result, with the experiment you have carried out, you think that you can answer your objective, answer your goal. What can you say about the mechanism of car with your experiment?
To answer your question, like after the experiment, I will remind you about the hypothesis of ours. When we add the plant extract on par directly, it enhances the glycolysis, but has nothing to do with the gluconeogenesis. Because when we add the plant extract on the G6 base gene, it does not. It is affected negligibly. So that's why we have the conclusion that when we add CAR and the CAR is stimulated by the components in the extract, it will go in only one way, that it enhances the glycolysis.
Even you talk about mechanism, right? You have to answer the plant extract to car. What the interaction does that have? That step, right? Yes. But we don't have any evidence yet. Oh, please, ask the question.
I just have a question. First of all, you're supposed to do biological pathways to explain how the CAR genes control the metabolisms of glucose in our body. But simply at the end, in the conclusions, only one pathway was wrong, other is not, right? So do you have any explanation for that?
So this is our first hypothesis, but in the end we have concluded that it only affects only this way, but not this way. But when it enhances the glycolysis, it enhances a lot. But naturally, these two, the gluconeogenesis and glycolysis, they balance. They happen at the same time. But when this is enhanced, it does not affect. It is still moving. It is still happen normal. It does not. It's still. Then our hypothesis is still right. It means that we enhance this, but we do not have to inhibit this. Sorry, I cannot be more clearly for you.
It's okay. Do you care about the amount of highly extract you put in the experiment?
Yes. We have tested on a series of concentration and by the most suitable amount.
So you did the investigation?
Yes.
Okay, nice.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is my correct name is maybe the first Vietnam network environment. And now, this illustration my project. Vietnam is developing country and during integration. Also, Vietnamese started to use using the technology slowly because of quality and service. And this is the mission of the project. First, develop true Vietnamese opera system. Second, develop Internet of Things. And third, develop school project school concept. And last, develop one platform for all device. And my sister first, I have a computer operating system and a device was smartphone and visual assistant dynamic speech and visual reality system. Then this is a model of BD API. You can see this is BD application and BD API. This is landscape. The application is a web app. You can using HTML, CSS, JavaScript to develop. I have some API to build application and BD. This is simple launcher. Comfortable. This is comfortable to afford Vietnamese. And you can search web in with the browser. And Office, you can view and execute Microsoft Office with Google document for video. And you can using your smartphone to remote my computer or divide in the whole. And quick video you can using in more device. You can see smartphone or smart clock, smartwatch, smart clock, and video can apply in more platform. Sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Đây là lần đầu anh
Và rất là để
How do you come to this project? Why did you choose to do this project?
because I live in a country in two country in Vietnam. So I think Vietnamese language using technology.
Okay, great.
So when you design the operating system, what's the principle? Do you have any principle in designing this? Or you just, bring each feature from different one to plug in, any designing principle? The main idea to go through your system. Just simple one, try to explain as simple as you can.
I understand the question. We got chắc là em không nói câu này bằng tiếng Anh.
Okay, that's right. That's another question.
Em hiểu được nó thôi.
Yeah.
Em không hiểu.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the advantages of your system compared with others?
Now we compare to other system, operating system, right?
Compared with other systems, for example, Windows, iOS, or Linux, something else. So, what are the advantages of your system? The main points.
So my slides of position of project. Did you comfortable to Vietnamese user?
Only comfortable. I think it's also true.
It's okay. No more question then. Yeah, you've done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our project of your Winged and Community from 11 English of Lava High School for gifted students. And today I'm very honored to present to you our topics, children's ability to deal with the risk of affection trafficking in Laogai province. So, job code is 02163360, right? Yeah. The first one is the reason. Children abduction and trafficking is being more complicated in Laogai province. It brings about serious consequences, especially to children's life. And so that we should have more effective measures to minimize the problem. The second is new points. In here we have three main new points. Firstly, focusing on researching children's ability to deal with the risk of abduction and trafficking in Laogai province. Secondly, making conclusions of children's awareness, attitude, and behavior. And the last one is suggesting measures to improve children's ability.
To do the researching, we came to the Criminal Police Department, PC 45 Laogai Provincial Police, Lao Cai Province Board of Common Headquarters and Lao Cai Department of Labor were engaged in social affairs to collect the information and data about the problem. And we found that the problem keeps increasing, and in 5 recent years, there are 147 children come back from China. After we do a survey on 853 children and sub-families in Lao Cai province, we came to Humani House to interview 15 victims in the house for victims coming back from China. After collecting the information and do a research on objects, we found they show us that they know this is a very popular and dangerous problem, and they know when they became the victim, they will be fear, worried, and then they know that they have to be calm and stay awake to find the best solution to solve the problem. And the way they choose is self-escape. But they don't point out the clear method to protect themselves or to solve the problem. 11 or 15 children that we have interviewed in Humani House answered that they had been educated about the problem, but the question is why they had been educated but they still became the victim of the problem. My answer is the real state of education from the family, school, and society. They provide for children many knowledge about the problem to the children, but they don't let children practice or let them learn how to protect themselves. So that to have more positive method, we suggest some.
From this rally, we have some methods. The first one is outdoor activities. We have a program named 12-hour challenge program. And in this activity, we have a series of games that imitate dangerous situations. The program is held by classes experiential activities to some schools in some districts in Lao Cai province. The second is propaganda. In here, propagandists are victims and victims' family. Especially we have Mrs. Hakisa and her daughter Nakitu in Sabah. And the last one is comics. We have some competitions for children to speak out their thinking about abduction and trafficking in children in Lao Cai province. The second method is learning Chinese. We teach students Chinese basic communication related to children abduction and trafficking in Lao Cai province. And the last one, we build a sex education club. In here, we make students understand properly and have ability to control their sexual appetite, and so that they will let themselves be in danger. About the efforts, we have 3 efforts. The first one, the program entails more than 8 schools in Lao Cai province through classes, experiential activities. Second, many students are interested in Chinese and remember some simple communicating sentences. And the last one is sexology club is effective and inspire students to take part in.
After the researching, we have some conclusions. Children abduction and trafficking in Lao Cai province is not only a dangerous problem, but it also has a negative effect to children and community. Before the lack of children's ability to deal with the risk of abduction and trafficking, and the lack of education from family, school, and society, we need to have more positive method to improve children's ability. And with this method, we got some particular effects.
Thanks for listening our presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a question. So, how many people need to involve to carry out your measure? You released about 3 main measures, right? 5, yeah. So how many people need to involve to carry out and have the, yes.
Thanks for your question. In our measures, we list a lot of help from many
other organizations.
from many some office from society,
Okay.
such as police officers, some department of war invalid and so on.
Okay. So in that case, is there any specific measure that can be carried out by your own student, by yourself, your friend, things like that?
By myself.
Yeah. And your friend, yes, your group.
The most matters.
Yeah, is there any
I think
measure?
that the best matters in our topic is our challenge program.
Okay.
Because this program, we build the content of the program and we help this program in more than 8 schools in some district in our province.
Okay, so I want to ask about victims. So I think they have some problems to communicate with the strangers because something they already spent in their childhood. So do you have any difficulties to approach them to carry out your survey?
Thanks for the question. We have their allowance to come to human needs house in Laogai province, and maybe some victims they don't want to share their story because they selfish and because they shy about their past and they don't want to tell their story with us. But some victims like she and her mother, they share about their story, and so we can drop some information from them.
Can you explain more about the roles of the comic activity, the outdoor activity comic contribute for your research? Explain more.
Thanks for your we design the comics and then we read it out, and then we pass it to some schools that we have the outdoor activities, and we have some competitions for children to speak out their thinking, and they will show their thinking about children abduction and trafficking in Laogai province through our comics.
So which part you like the most when you conduct the survey? Personally.
The most we think that is the most in the outdoor activities. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Trinh, and I'm Trinh, and we are from the Thuyet High School in Haiphong City. And now we will present to all of you our project, My Hand of Comprehensive Solution to Support Two-Way Communication for Deaf Mute. Yeah, and our presentation has 5 main parts like this. And the teacher, 79 million is the amount of the deaf mute in the world, and the deaf mute has suffered from so many difficulties in their life, and the main reason is that the limitation is the ability to communicate. While people communicate by voice, the deaf mute communicate by sign language. And from that, we think about a solution to support to convert two modes of communication from sign language of the deaf mute to voice of the other people and vice versa. And from that, we have researched and realized that there are some devices supporting the deaf mute nowadays. However, they have some disadvantages such as low accuracy, high difference, age limit
limitation, and they don't have high application. They have just only one-way communication, and they are inconvenient to bring along. So that is the reason they are not applied as a market yet. Yeah, and we hope to overcome that to have the net view. So we carry out a project to create a product supporting two-way communication for a net view.
Yeah, to carry out this project, we have to design the wrist device and the app on the platform which have ability to convert two-way. The first conversion is from language to speech, and the second conversion is from speech to text. And two indispensable items to support in this project are the mobile phone and the wrist device. So we can state that my hand app on the mobile phone is exactly part of this project. We programmed this app due to the combination between Android Studio and the Open CD library. We receive and process the data of features of Phan, and the data we put into the formatted machine method, and it will create a training set of silent picture. Therefore, we set up the algorithm flowchart of this app, and this is the mechanism of my hand app on the mobile phone. Besides, we also program this app to convert speech to text and send data to the wrist device through Bluetooth. And this wrist device has two functions. Firstly, it can receive text data from the mobile phone and display text on the screen. Secondly, it can work with the view about loud noise in order to support them in daily lives. Simultaneously, we also program my hand app to be able to compare with other smart devices with Android operating system to use the diverse choices for users.
Yeah, here is some hand gestures in our image library and your conversation library based on subject above, including 270 corresponding 10 topics we got ill popularly. Yeah, and after assembling our product, we have that is the conversion from silent speech to voice with 10 to 20 objects. Also, a true demo school in Haiphong as well in Hanoi City, and the results. So that's the accuracy rate 78.5 and the speed processing rate under 1 second. Yeah, and moreover, we did the conversion from speech to text based on the recording method as well as the sound condition. As we realized that in the silent condition, micro or the earphone reach 96.5 and micro or the mobile phone reach over 90%. And we also install our app on various types of Android devices, as we realized that the accuracy rate of image processing depends on API, RAM, as well as image resolution. Yeah, and finally, we surveyed opinion about my hand product of 68 students in that new school in Haiphong City, as we realized that over 80% satisfied with our product.
In conclusion, we have completed my hand product, including application software, the wrist device, and the wheels, including 10 gestures corresponding with 200 sentences. And the level of the conversion from language to speech and from speech to text satisfy the demands for daily communication. The accuracy rate of image processing on my hand app depends on RAM, API, also image resolution of smartphones. And in the future, we'll continue to improve our product in order to be widely applied in practice and develop our apps to be able to process data of 2 hands or short video. We also optimize enhanced accuracy function and speed processing. We are going to extend the library of hand gestures and then upload to Google Play and App Store for download to spread users. And now I will show you the demo of our product.
Here is the conversion from sandwich voice. First of all, we have to set my binary image.
This is how first language is Vietnamese and English.
have already connected.
The second conversion is from speech to text.
So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. You know, when you test your device, you have a green screen, and it's kind of ideal situation. Have you tested in a real life situation? You know, you don't have a screen like that. I think you understand. And in that case, you know, in a real life situation, what is error rate that when you test your device? Yeah, in the demo, right? You have the green screen and you put the side situation. Oh, okay, I explain. So when you in the demo, right, video, you have your finger up onto the green screen, and it's a very ideal situation. The phone, your app can realize that your finger much more clear. But in real life, you know, people use the sign which in different situations, in different lighting situation, you know, lighting condition. Have you tested your app in the less ideal condition?
Okay, I have tested 10 to 20 objects at two Daniel School in Haiphong City as well as in Hanoi City to test the real situation of our app.
And the students here were satisfied with our product.
So for your application, can convert the speed into the background.
Yeah, it can convert firstly, it can convert from speech to text, and secondly, it can convert from sandwich to voice.
What is the price of this app?
I think about it so much. But we upload to Google Play and App Store for free download.
Free.
And our wrist device has just only $100,000. Yeah, it's all about it. Yeah.
So that's the prototype of your device, right?
Yeah.
And can you demo how is, you know, from the speech it can convert into the signal to the mechanic signal, right? You want to.
From speech to text, the app on the mobile phone converts speech to text and then send the data to the wrist device. And this wrist device receives the data and display text on the screen, so the deaf mute can read it. And this wrist device also warns the deaf mute about loud noise by vibrating. So, for example, when they take part in traffic and the loud noise sirens, this will warn the deaf mute about sirens, so they can avoid obstacles when taking part in traffic.
I've got one question and a suggestion. My first question, because I'm a linguist, so I'm really curious about the rate of accuracy for your speech to text. You know it? Because this is a very, very sensitive, very important issue. Because when you convert speech to sound, it is affected by several aspects, like intonation, like action, like speech delivery. So can you tell us the rate of accuracy on your device?
This conversion we inherit from API, Google API speech to text, but we also test this like those condition. In silent condition, micro on earphone, the accuracy of micro on earphone will reach 96.5%, and micro on the mobile phone reach 90%.
So here, like with the noise level, we see like for micro on the mobile phone or on the mobile phone, you see like from like 90.3%, and then with noise, it dropped down to like a 52%. So this is very significant, you know, in research. And when there is some significant changes like this. Have you thought of any improvement yet?
Okay. We also think about words like that, but in the future we will try to improve this conversion from speech to text because we will train word or something like that to improve our.
Because here it means like one wrong, one right.
Yeah.
So it's really dangerous when you're in like a real life situation. And my suggestion is we have the barometer in this cell phone. Okay, do you think of changing the hand movement into like the barometer interpretation? Because like when you move your hand in front of the camera, it may not be correct. It may be incorrect. Okay, you see like this because it depends on the software to read the movement. And don't you think of using the barometer inside every smartphone?
Well, this conversion from sandwich to word that you have said. Consider on the receipt of this from this conversion from sandwich to speech. It depends on API, RAM, and image resolution of camera on smartphone.
Yeah, because we've seen here like you got a rate of accuracy of around like 2/3 or 3/4. It means like out of 3 actions, in 4 or in 3 activities or in 3 actions, 1 is incorrect. But like a 67.3%, it means when you move your hand 3 times, then your mobile phone can read it twice correctly and 1 will be incorrect. So this is a very high rate of inaccuracy. See? Yeah, thank you.
One more question. Do you write, when you convert from the sign language to the speech, do you write your own algorithm or you use a certain language? And if you write your own algorithm, you just name the algorithm that you use.
Well, we write this app that we can write our own algorithm for our own apps. And we use Android Studio combined with Swift and Yes.
That's a smart approach.
Okay, I just wanted to ask about your motivations, your driving force.
When I school go to the NMU school and we want to communicate with the NMU student who is the same age and me, but I don't know how to talk to an NMU, and for that we will think about a solution to convert remote communication from silent of the NMU and voice of us. And vice versa. So we think about that project.
Okay, I want to ask about 2 conversations in your app, like from speech, from the sign language to speech and from speech to text. So why you don't think about from the sign language to text directly? Because I think between the 2 different modes, they're also difficult to compute to each other.
We program to erase language to voice because we want that you can to be able to communicate with other people naturally.
Thank you. You're finished.